So at the start of the season, I made some predictions for the National League. I predicted every single position in the league table, and it's safe to say that my predictions didn't go very well. We'll be looking into all of it in this video. We'll be comparing my predictions to where these teams actually finished in the league. We're looking at the teams that were so far away from my predictions and the ones that I did get slightly close, but as you'll see, it didn't go very well. And as well as this, we'll be looking at a general overview of the National League for the 18-19 season. But first, this video is sponsored by OneFootball, which is a great place to stay up to date with the latest news from the National League. Also for scores going into next season with the National League, it's a good place to stay up to date. And yeah, it's just a really useful app, so if you want to download it, link to download will be in the top line of the description. Without any further ado, let's get into the video.
So we're going to start off by looking at the actual league table for the National League for the 18-19 season. So this is how it finished after 46 games. Leyton Orient winning the league on 89 points. Solihull Moors in second on 86 and Salford in third on 85 points. Wrexham just missing out on that top three on 84 points, with Fylde in fifth on 81. Harrogate and Eastleigh taking up the final playoff places, both on 74 points. There was a bit of a gap between them and 8th place Ebbsfleet United. Behind them were Gateshead, Sutton and Barrow. And incredibly, just 1 point separated 12th place Bromley from 17th place Hartlepool United. There's actually quite a big gap in the end between 20th place Boreham Wood and 21st place Aldershot Town, who were the final team finishing inside that relegation zone, alongside Braintree Town, Havant, Waterlooville and Maidstone. Braintree actually went on quite a good run towards the end of the season, winning 3 of their final 5 games, alongside some other good results which saw them climb off the bottom into 22nd place. And the manager of Braintree, Danny Searle, has actually left the club and become the new manager of fellow relegated side Aldershot Town. But anyway, let's compare this to my pre-season predictions, and as you can see, my predictions were not that accurate. I predicted that Salford would win the league, which they came quite close, but second and third place were two that really were very wrong. Hartlepool United and Chesterfield finishing comfortably inside the bottom half of the table. The actual league winners, Leyton Orient, I predicted would finish in 5th place, so I was 4 positions out there, as well as Solihull Moors, who I thought would finish in 18th place. They came in the end in 2nd. Out of the 4 relegated sides, I only actually got 1 correct, and Braintree finishing in 22nd place was the only prediction in the entire National League that I actually got spot on. Here's the actual comparison, and on the left hand side you can see my prediction, and on the right is my prediction compared to the real league table. So the order of the teams in this league table is the actual finish of those teams. The colours are the same colours as what I predicted they would finish. So you can see, for example, Gateshead and Barrow, I thought they would finish in the relegation zone, so they're in red, but in reality they finished in 9th and 11th respectively. So overall, the biggest underestimates from my predictions compared to reality, the biggest one was Solihull Moors, who I got 16 positions wrong. I thought they'd finish in 18th, and in reality they finished in 2nd. Tim Flowers, the manager there, taking over at the start of the season, he did absolutely fantastically this season and got them up to an unbelievable 2nd place finish. I'm sure there was pretty much no one that would have ever predicted that Solihull Moors would finish in 2nd this season, even the most diehard of Solihull Moors fans, considering they only just about managed to survive in the previous season. It was a bit of a great escape, a bit of a miracle that they actually survived. My second biggest underestimate was Gateshead, who I thought would finish rock bottom of the table. And based on the news that we have found in the last few weeks and months about their budget being drastically cut, their transfer embargo that's been taking place this season, the horrendous situation and circumstances that the management have had to work under, it just makes it even more incredible that they have done so well and finished in 9th place, which is very, very respectable considering their scenario. Going forward, it's very uncertain, so we don't actually know what's going to happen with Gateshead going into the next season. But one thing's for sure, the players and management that were there during the 18-19 season can hold their heads up high and really congratulate themselves on what they've done considering the circumstances, because it is really, to be honest, it is a bit of a miracle how well they've done. My third biggest underestimate is another team that I thought would finish in the relegation zone, and that is Barrow. Now, I put them in the relegation zone because they had a new manager at the start of this season in Ian Evatt, who'd never managed before. He comes straight out of playing into management. And to be honest, he's done very well in his first season, finishing in 11th position and earning himself an extended contract at the end of the season. He's really done well and brought in a good style of football to Barrow. My fourth biggest underestimate was Harrogate Town. and I didn't think they'd do anywhere near as well as what they actually did. I predicted them to finish 9 places below the actual 6th placed finish, and for them to finish inside the playoffs as a newly promoted side from the National League North is a very respectable achievement, and it really shows how little of a difference there is between that National League North and National League level. Because there's so few teams that can get promoted from the National League North each season, so just one automatic and one through the playoffs, it does create a lot of good teams literally being unable to get out of the National League North, and it's becoming more and more difficult each year. But once you finally get that promotion, that's what Harrogate did during the 17-18 season, they've shown that they can really compete in the National League. My 5th biggest underestimate is Eastleigh. Similarly to Harrogate, they finished 9 places above what I predicted they would finish, also finishing inside the playoffs. A great season for them considering their owner Stuart Donald left just before the start of the season, going up to be the chairman of Sunderland. So that was a big change for him, and I worried that they would really struggle to adapt following his departure because he's been instrumental to their rise through the leagues in previous years. But they scored a lot of goals through Paul McCallum, and they've done very well to get into the playoffs, and unfortunately going out in the semi-finals on penalties to Salford City. So they almost got to the final at Wembley. So obviously all of those that I underestimated were very wrong, but I actually did get some really close, and just one correct, as I did mention briefly earlier. That was Braintree Town. I predicted them to finish in 22nd place, and that was where they actually finished. Dagenham and Redbridge I thought would finish lower down in the table, considering they had a lot of trouble at the start of the season in terms of putting a squad together. They lost a lot of players, so I was really worried for them, but they did manage to stay up, and they finished in 18th position. The other 3 of my closest estimates were all out by 2. Bromley and Maidend I predicted to finish 2 positions lower than they actually finished, and Ebbsfleet I thought would finish 2 positions higher up in the playoffs. But Ebbsfleet, similarly to Gateshead, they've had some terrible circumstances that the players and management have had to work under this season, with the players and staff not being paid on time for a number of months. It's caused havoc, and for them to be up just 1 place outside of the playoffs is a real mark of the professionalism of those players, just continuing despite the circumstances that are happening around them. However, going into next season, they've only got 6 players contracted, and their manager Gary Hill has actually come out and said that he'll help them find new clubs because he knows that it's going to be challenging going into next season. And with all of that uncertainty, it does make me wonder where they're going to finish next season and how they're going to find a way out of their problems. That's my biggest overestimates for the 18-19 season in the National League, and the biggest one was Hartlepool United, who I predicted would finish in 2nd position, but they finished 15 places below that, down in 17th place. And while they were never really in a relegation battle, being below mid-table for a club of that size is a real disappointment for their fans, and for the 2nd season in a row really, they have been in the National League and challenging nowhere near the top. When they dropped out of the Football League, I thought they'd be one that would try and fight their way back up to the Football League straight away, being a decent sized club, but they have really struggled. And also struggling this season was Aldershot Town, who for the last 2 or 3 years have been up in and around that playoff area come the end of the season. But this season was the total opposite. They've ended up getting relegated. Down in 21st position, they've really struggled throughout the season. They never really pulled themselves out of that relegation battle. Chesterfield fresh into their first season in non-league after back-to-back relegations from League One. They really struggled to really get to grips with this season, despite appointing Martin Allen, an experienced non-league manager, at the start of the season. He brought in a lot of players that he has worked with before, particularly at Barnet, where he had previously won the National League and moved up to the Football League. So I thought that they would really adapt to this league well. They brought in someone who knew non-league and players that were of the exact same ilk. However, it just did not happen. They drew a lot of games, but that wasn't enough for Allen to keep his job. He left, and in came John Sheridan from Carlisle, and he did manage to steady the ship. He brought them out of the relegation zone, and they eventually finished the season in 15th position, which is way lower than the 3rd place finish that I thought they would finish, but at least they haven't gone down for the 3rd season in a row. With Chesterfield coming down, Havant and Waterlooville are the total opposite. They're fresh up from the National League South, having got 2 promotions in a row, and I thought they would finish in that mid-table area, continuing that momentum. I knew it would be harder for them going into the National League, but I thought with 2 promotions in a row, they got momentum to continue that, and they just didn't end up doing that. They finished down in the relegation zone. Boreham Wood is my final overestimate, and with them finishing inside the playoffs last season and getting to the playoff final where they faced Tranmere Rovers and unfortunately losing in that playoff final at Wembley, lost a couple of key players including Morgan Ferrier at the start of the season, and really they never really got going in this season. They were never challenging anywhere near up the top, but they did manage to stay up, so it's a case of they have a base to build upon next season in the National League.
And there you have it, that is it for this video. What predictions do you think were the most embarrassing ones that I got wrong? And who do you predict that would win the league, and were you right? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button and click subscribe as well. We're having plenty of videos coming up over the next few weeks, all through the summer and into next season. So yeah, click subscribe to stay up to date. I hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.